Hi, I'm Benj, welcome back to Doing Outdoors, and what a glorious day we have got today. It really is starting to feel like spring is only just around the corner, which really it is. We are the 2nd of March today. I just want to show you the hotbed first of all. The hotbed has been doing what it's supposed to do. I have put some perspex sheets on top of this cold frame base that I stuck on because it has been getting to below -1, -2 the last few nights. So just to make sure everything stays nice and toasty, we put a lid on, and it hasn't dropped below 15 degrees Celsius where the seed trays are sitting. And if I take this off, we will be able to see just how well these onion seeds have germinated so far. We're having some really good germination rates. We've got the multi-sown red barron. Every cell has got something sprouted. Some not as many as others, but it's a full tray definitely. And there you go. The thermometer reads just over 30 degrees. I know we have got a bit of sun this morning, but this hotbed is kicking out quite a lot of heat. Again, we've got the Sturon multi-sown. We've got one cell that looks to have missed, but out of 30, and we've only missed one cell. Not too fussed with that. But because the sun is quite bright today, we'll take these sheets off. Although we want it warm for the seeds, I think 30 or just over 30 degrees is a little too warm. So we'll take this sheeting off and let them cool down just a little bit. But by keeping these sheets on as well, it's keeping a lot of the moisture in there. I've only watered these once and the trays are all still quite wet. But we've had mega germination rates, and I put that down to, in part, using this hotbed. Last year I didn't have them on a hotbed, and for instance I grew in these 60 cell trays and I literally had 50% of the cells where not one seed had germinated. In this one there are 3, but it's still quite early. Some are still popping through, so they might fill out yet. Well, I'm quite happy with the way that the seeds are germinating on the hotbed. But one of the things that really lets you know that spring is really starting to come in is when you're standing next to one of your beehives and there's some serious activity. It is only about 11 degrees Celsius outside today, which is still quite cool for bees, but it is bright, there's no rain, not much wind, and these are really going for it. And what you can see, if you watch closely, that quite a lot of these bees are bringing back lots of pollen packed onto their legs, which is telling me that there's a lot of flowers open somewhere. Well, it really makes me feel quite excited seeing an active beehive this time of year, because it not only tells me that the bees have survived the winter, seeing that number of bees outside the hive tells me that it's a very strong hive still. So I'm quite hopeful that we are going to get a harvest of honey this year. Last year was a little bit of a roller coaster ride with beekeeping. We didn't get a honey harvest. I'm going to save that for another video. But we have only got 2 active colonies, and one's a little bit weaker than the one we just looked at. But today we have got a task. We've got to go into the wood and take down a dead standing elm tree. The reason being, it's quite a big tree. I noticed it was dead about 18 months ago, and I don't want it falling on anybody, but I also need some firewood to keep us warm at home. I know warm weather is just around the corner and it's very sunny today, but it does get cold on the night time. We are still burning wood. We haven't had our central heating on in the last 3 years, and we need a little bit more firewood. So I've got Alfie and his friend, and we're going to go down, have a look at this tree, see if we can turn it into some firewood. Right, well, we are down the bottom end of our wood, and you don't really get to see our woodland very often, especially down this far. But we have got this dead standing tree that we need to take out. It's quite close to our boundary, and if it were to blow the wrong way and someone was on the other side, there'd be a bit of an issue. But the tree in question is this tree behind us. I don't know if you can see, but there aren't really many small branches left on it, and it's covered in ivy, which is really quite bad because it doesn't lose its leaf. It acts like a sail in the winter, so when the wind picks up it can really push on the ivy, and on a dead tree like that it could push it over quite easily. But on the other hand, this is an elm tree. It's been dead for at least 2 years that I know of, so hopefully it's going to be dry enough to burn. So we'll cut it down, hopefully try and fell it in that direction, because right behind me is our boundary. Although this isn't set in the correct position, it should be about 30 metres in that direction. But that's another thing. We've got to try and get this felled over there, and I've got a new saw for the job. Had it a couple of weeks, I'm not messing about with a Mickey Mouse saw. We've got a Stilt MS462C, 25-inch bar, 70cc engine on it, and it rips. It really does. I've had it a couple of weeks. It's done a bit of work already. Well, there we have it. She's down, and she went exactly where I wanted it to. Probably more luck than judgment, but you could just see how dead it was, especially on the smaller limbs further up the tree. They didn't take any of the other trees down with it because the limbs just broke off. But they are nice and dry, and they will burn. And the main stem, we're going to get into that and see what condition that's in. So we have just taken a couple of rings off the main stem of this tree. I just wanted to see how rotten it is. And you know what? In the main trunk, I can't see any wormholes. It really is looking quite solid. So we've got to ring all that up, get the axe down here, split it, fill a few baskets. But because we are right down the bottom end of our property and well away from where we'd normally split our firewood, we're going to split this wood down here, fill some bags, fill some plastic trays, and take it straight home from here. So we need somewhere to split the firewood on. And I'm thinking if I take one more round off this stump, that'll be the perfect height for splitting this wood. been at it for about an hour and a half now, and we've pretty much made mincemeat of this tree, although these rounds of the trunk that were closest to the floor are particularly tough to split, or at least for Alfie. I've not had too many goes yet. But towards the top, like I say, where the smaller limbs were, it really was dead. And I've cut nearly all of that up, even stuff that was quite small, because it's so dry, it's going to burn extremely well. You can just see this pile behind me. We've still got quite a bit of the trunk to cut up. I'll go and put some more fuel in the saw, but we've got to get all this bagged up and get it carted out of the wood yet. But I'd say this is definitely enough firewood to keep us going till the end of the month, and probably a little bit that we can keep in the wood store here to start us off for our next winter's wood burning. And this is when saving all your feed bags comes in handy. Whew. Well, there we go, we've got 11 bags of cut wood, and we've still got probably 3/4 of the tree to bring over. It's a little bit of a drag bringing it out, but each one of these bags lasts us about 24 hours burning at home. So we've got 11 days worth in the back now. Still quite a bit to split. Well, we've actually bought all the rounds that we haven't split yet. We've brought them to the van. I'm going to take them back up the hill and put them in the wood store. The problem being, where that tree was, it's quite close to our boundary, and in the next property there is a public footpath, and from that public footpath you could see where we were cutting that wood. So you know what people are like. If they see some rounds left unattended, they're going to take them and we'll lose some firewood. So everything that we've cut or split is now in the back of the van. We have still got part of the stem, about 8 foot left, but it is one piece. It's too heavy for anyone to walk away with. I can come back and deal with that next weekend probably. It is going to stay dry at least for the next 10 days, unless the wind changes direction. But that is a good load of wood. Really happy with that. But actually there is still this stump that I left big so we could split wood on. I could take probably another 2 rounds off that, and I will. Not today, mind, but because as you can tell, the sun is dropping, we're losing light. I've still got to feed the cows and the pigs again. But we haven't left much. In fact, the stem that we've left, the 8 foot, I've camouflaged that with a bit of ivy, just so no one can see it from a distance. A few little sticks still to cut perhaps, but I think we've used or taken away quite a lot of this tree, more than I'd usually would. If we cut a fresh tree down, a lot of the smaller branches up to probably the size of your wrist, that would get shredded, made into wood chip, but because this is so dry, so dead, it's going to burn really well. And this is it. This is what all that effort is for. To keep this thing going. And we keep this going 24 hours a day. And with this stuff, harder wood, it's easier to do. I have been burning this real light scraps from a building site. Gets a lot of heat out of it, but it's tricky to keep it going through the night with that. But this stuff will be fantastic. I say we've got 11 bags of this already. Still quite a bit to chop. There's easily enough to see this month out, especially with the weather getting warmer. Well, I'm going to be toasty tonight anyway. Well, that's all I've got time for on this one. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.